Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while, but I've been busy. I've been watching Time Attack. I've been watching drifting. I've seen a V8 powered MX5. I'm inspired. So we're back to working on the car. And you remember last time we got the back end on the ground, and I've since put on all the bumper and the boot trim and everything. So that's all good. That's back on the ground. We're now moving on to the front. Here is a look at what we're dealing with. There's a hole there as well, it's a bit dark, but... So I've come in with the wire wheel just to investigate exactly how bad or otherwise things are. It's not too bad, obviously it looks quite bad, there's a lot of holes, but it's all solid up this edge, so we'll have something to weld into. And then up here, I don't think we'll have too much trouble making that shape, so just going to get the card out, start making templates, see how we get on. Here we have the template that I propose is going to fix that inner sill part. So it's quite long, but I guess this part's pretty easy to make. It's just one bend, and then up here where it starts to curve around the, I don't know, chassis, frame rail, something, chassis leg maybe, that's where it gets a little more complex, and then there's going to be a little bit of that action and maybe something there. So we've got to cut this out of steel. Got a fresh piece of steel for this because this exceeds the amount that I have left on the old one. Oh, and there's no plastic to peel off either. It's the best day ever. Other pieces are lost. That's a shame. Can't believe I've lost something. This has never happened before. This is the first time I've ever lost anything. That was a joke. Funny joke. Here we have all the sheet metal cut out for this sill repair. The big long piece, and then a couple of extra bits that need to be welded on. Standard stuff, add in the bend for the pinch weld. Have to add a gentle curve here and then a little bit of action there. Weld some of this on, bend this up, see how we go. So it's always a bit of a pain to put in these big long bends when you haven't got a proper sheet metal brake, but the vise has done a pretty decent job. So that's in there. Gonna go offer it up on the car now. This is roughly the idea there. So I just need to add the bend on this final part to try and get it to match. There we go, there is that bend. You have to trust me that this is first time, but look at that. Not too shabby. So let me just, I need to do a little bit of cutting out to get it to sit where it should be, but I just need to add in this dimple. You can kind of see it, this here. I'll try and match that a little bit. But the next step is probably going to be cut out everything that's rusty. I've marked a rough line that I'm planning on doing, and then we'll be on our way to fixing it. Let's get cutting. Awesome. What a fantastic specimen of a car this is, truly. still seem to think they're attached. I don't know why. Looks really fantastic in there. Here we have what remains of that inner sill part, which is nice to know that that wasn't an MOT failure. Bit of work to remove that, but it's now done. I still have a little bit to figure out on the car itself, but to take a bit of a break from lying on my back, I'm going to work on completing this piece, obviously to get that pinch weld bend in there while also curving up that way without special bits of equipment. I think you'd probably use like a shrinker or stretcher or something to do a bend like that. We're going to weld that in, which should give us a pretty nice shape. So we'll move on to that now.
Get ready, everybody. He's about to do something stupid.
Oops. I forgot I was welding thin metal for a second there. So we destroyed that corner. Awesome. There we go, that's that all welded up. And that's the big hole that I blew in it right at the start, but such is life. Right then, so I'm going to be picking up working on the front suspension rather than welding that piece I've just made in, because it's very warm and I don't really feel like getting all long sleeves and trousers on and lying under the car to weld that in. So I'm going to leave that for today. So I'm going to have a look and see what of this suspension I can get off so I can work on the bushings and fit in the new brake lines, which means that I need to undo the brake line fitting in there. And this is where I come to a confession. The story is one of betrayal, and the betrayal is of this guy, because I tried very hard to get that fitting off with the amazing homemade spanner, but it was too much. So I have to confess that I have bought a flare nut spanner, turns out it's called, not a brake line spanner. We're going to see if we can get that undone with this, because I really would like to not mangle that fitting up too much, because there's no way that I could make just a small patch section of brake line. And I mean, it's a shorter brake line than it would be to remake for the rear, but it's still a bit of a pain the way it goes through all the engine bay and everything. So I'm going to do my best to get it off with this. I think I should have much better luck. You know, this is a six pointed socket. Well, I guess it's 5 because it's cut out. So I think I should be able to get a better grip on it. I've been soaking it in WD-40, I've been blowtorching it. We'll see how we go. First off, I've got to gather some clips that I can use to cut back to later.
Oh my goodness.
Give ourselves the best chance of this coming out. Hopefully maybe not melting the brake line. But if it melts, it melts.
Don't burn the car down. Just, whoa. Oh no.
Okay, that's good, that's on fire. That's how we like to start these operations. Okay, well, okay, it hasn't moved, but this spanner is a lot better than the one I made, because I can actually bend the whole bracket that this is mounted to, whereas before it just rounded off immediately. Oh my god, it's actually come undone. Alright. I'll say a brake, whatever. A flare nut spanner. Good tool. Really good tool. That may have saved us quite a lot of hassle. So yeah, I recommend everyone goes out and buys a brake line spanner. Don't bother making one yourself. I guess I could probably just use a normal spanner. I'll see if the 10mm still talking to me. If he still wants to work together. Reluctantly, it does. Oh, it's protesting though. Which is fair enough. It lost its job. Look, I'll even use the... Oh, that's why. That's an 11mm. It's run off. It's so unhappy it's run off, and I do not have that 10mm spanner here. I say fair. Alright, so having dealt with that one brake fitting, everything else pretty simple. Got that caliper off, ready for the new brake lines. And in here, I don't think it's necessary, but I'm going to try and remove all the brake stuff, all the disc, caliper holder and stuff, just because I think it'll give me less difficult access to all the stuff in the background, but we'll see how that goes. What lesson have we learnt? Don't use non-impact rated things with the impact gun. Oh well. Okay, I will update from that last clip and say what we've learnt is who the hell uses Phillips heads for anything. I just started turning this one and it exploded. So, how exactly I'm supposed to get these bolts out of the brake rotor, I'm not sure, but certainly not like that. Come to the Haynes manual to look for tips, and it just says just remove the bolts, so that's not very useful. But I've got a whole load of Phillips head bits that I can break before I resort to anything else, so we'll give this a go. I will now capture on camera breaking one of these bits so you can see that obviously I'm doing everything right. Oh. It just worked. That's what happened. I should have known to just always rely on Mazda. They're not going to leave you high and dry. I believe that there is a bolt hole in the disc which is designed for you to put a bolt into, and that will push the disc off. They think of everything. Well, as you may have seen in the time lapse there, I was hoping to remove the hub. As far as I'm aware, there's no bolts still holding this on, but even the slide hammer that I've never successfully used for anything seemed to get it off, so I'm clearly missing something. So I'm just going to press on and maybe pull out the strut now, with the aim of getting out this top wishbone, things like this, so I can do all the bushings. Strut out, and we can move on to trying to do some of these bushings in here. First one I attempt is going to be the upper wishbone, and I'm hoping to do this in the car but that may become complicated. It kind of depends how things go. My first plan is I'm just going to heat this up a lot and see if I can push this out with no press or anything. So I melted out the steel core from these bushings, but I think they have the steel sleeve in them now. So again, our good friend back here, and the plan is, if I can get some kind of access, I think it'll work. Like we did with the diff carrier bushes, cut slits in these and they should be a lot easier to remove then. Doing it in the car because these are the only bushings I need to change. I won't have to separate this ball joint here. I don't need to repaint this arm because it's aluminium, so it's not all rusted and need protection. I really do not think that that was easier than just taking this whole thing off, but it has been accomplished. I think it's relatively dangerous to use a reciprocating saw on something that can just move everywhere and you can't really hold in place, but all fingers remaining, didn't do too much damage to the wishbone itself. Should be pretty easy. You just pop the polyurethane bushes in. Come on. There we go. And now that's too hot to touch. Wonderful. Alright, can stay in there. Also, do I know where the brake line fittings are? No. That is interesting. Interesting in the sense of I really quite need those. Oh dear. It's difficult to imagine why, when you have organisational systems like this, how anything could go missing. And yet, it has. Alright, pause. Fear not, I found them. And that means I haven't learnt my lesson. And we can continue with the same organisational structure. I put these just in a different place that I thought would be safe for bolts. Away from all the other bolts I've ever kept, so. There we go, sparkling clean. So I thought I would use this time while I am fitting these new brake lines to discuss a realisation that I've had. And the realisation is that I don't know if it makes sense, or if I will, put the car back on the road and do track days this year. And the reason that I say this is because it's September now, and I still have, maybe if I work quickly, which I haven't particularly been, because I'm taking my time, kind of another month of work, which puts us into October, or more realistically late October. So then I was thinking, do I want to put the car back on the road and drive it in the winter? Okay, track days in the winter maybe might be quite fun, but salty roads, less so. And obviously a convertible is less appealing in the winter. And while track days might be fun, the cost to insure and tax the car, is that really a wise idea? And I'm thinking it might not be. So, don't know exactly what that means for the series. Probably not a great deal. But, yeah, there might not be the big payoff finale of driving the car and doing a track day this year. Which is a shame. But we'll see how it goes. Here we have the completed patch panel for the front corner of the car. All primed up, looking pretty nice. Again, I think this went pretty well in terms of creating the shape we wanted. We like that. So this is going to get welded into the car today, and I think, well, this is going to be the last major bit of welding. There may be a small bit to do on this front corner. Guess we won't know till we can properly have a look, but you know, this is going to be a lot of seam welding and plug welding, etc. So just got to get through that, make it work enough, and that'll be a big milestone. Not looking forward to it that much because there's even less room under the car now than when I was doing it at the back and the subframe was out, so it's going to be miserable, but it needs to get done. So that's the plan for today. Now, once again, for the plug welds, we need some holes, so it's time for me to wish that I had a pillar drill, but still not buy one or really have the space for one. There we go. So here is how everything looks under there, all primered up, rust, all milk timed. Oh, I forgot to film that. That's my trademark. I'm trying to get the rust time merch. We've cut that big section out, and obviously that floor support is not ideal, but that's just the way it is. We're just going to plate over the top of it and hope it's not a big issue. Or are we? Okay, so I've had a bit of a change of heart about this section, and I've decided it's too much work and I'm just going to sell the car. So that's the end of the series. Thanks for watching. A joke, of course. So I've been thinking about this floor support part inside here, and I don't know exactly what the purpose of it is in terms of the structure of the car, but I think it would be better if we try and tie it in at least a bit. So I'm going to try, for example here, where it's not joined, just make a plate that will join the floor support to the sill, and perhaps it will do something for the safety and kind of structural rigidity of the car. More likely it might just be useful because I'll be able to jack up from this sill with a bit more confidence. So that's what I'm going to try and do now. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to get it to work with how I can tie this to this while still being able to weld in my new panel, but we'll figure that out. Welding has begun. That one's not so nice, but these other two are okay. And if I do this, there's a lot more stiffness in this part now. Not so much down here, but up here, in terms of maybe if I jack it up from there, I should be okay. Not filming the welding because it's quite warm. There's not much space. It's fairly miserable as is. Having to film would just be too much, so you just get the in-between updates. Oof. Not a quick job, but that is now done. All welded in. Passes the knock test. We have a complete, not rusty, not holy, inner sill at the front. Okay, so that's where we're going to leave it for this episode. I think that was a good amount of progress to get all of the welding done on the front of the car. There's maybe still a little bit to be done over here, but we can get that done as and when. For the next episode, I'm going to be working on the suspension at the front and the bushes and all of that kind of stuff. I got a bit of an issue with the suspension at the moment that I need to email the manufacturer about to sort that out. And I am working on the seat mounts, but I'm taking my time with those, trying to figure out what's going to work and maybe be safe or not safe. I'll see you in the next episode, whenever that might be. Thanks for watching. Have a good week or 2 weeks or month or a year, who knows.